Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. On this episode, we're getting back into it. All right. Unfortunately, decisions are being made. There seems to be enough clearance to get that rocker cover out. But in the great scheme of things, I don't want to be struggling every time I get these rocker covers off. There is a brace that actually is removable that I've found, which is for a Mustang or something like that. I may go that direction, but I'm thinking I'm going to make my own bracing system for this car, just to make life a little bit easier. I had to sort of get rid of those. That's actually just sitting in there. It's been cut. Just to try and fit this engine and gearbox properly, because today we're going to get into this gearbox mount, and we'll get this up in the air and I'll show you what we're dealing with. All right, let's get you in here now. I've just got it resting, the gearbox resting on this bit of RHS for the moment, but I'm going to have to make a gearbox mount that'll go to each side. So I'll probably weld a brace off here and then have it so it's a bolt-in unit. Now I've also got to compensate for the fact that we're going to have 3-inch pipes coming down either side too. So this is actually sitting low. I actually want this up a little bit higher than where it's actually sitting now. So I'll probably get underneath it with the jack to sit it where it needs to be, but it's pretty much going to be level. The mount is going to be level with the bottom of these rails. So, you know, we're only probably about an inch off where we need to be. So I need to try and figure out, how we're going to sort of bring this brace around and down. I think that's probably what I'll do, but I've got to have some sort of clearance for nut and bolts to have that bracket removable. I've seen them before where they run them through, 3.5-inch tube. It intersects on either side so the exhaust runs through it. But you've got to be really precise on where you put those, or else you just make them too big of a diameter. So we'll probably have it come off, then come up a bit, and then come down and around to meet that, just to clear those pipes coming down on either side. But like you saw in the previous episode with that bracket, we'll just wing it. We'll start putting pieces together and see what we can come up with.
One eternity later.
Right, well, without dragging you through building this bracket, this is what I've come up with. More than capable of holding the engine gearbox in this car. So as you can see, I've got plenty of clearance for pipes to come through on either side. Makes it a little bit difficult to get out. I've sort of realised that I've probably got just enough space to lift the gearbox up out of these mounting holes and to be able to slide this out. But worst case scenario, you've got to sort of get in there if you can to get those bolts out to take the whole mount off. But I've already had it out by just lifting it up enough. It actually does come out. No worries. It'd just be one of those things where once we do the floor, we make sure that we can still actually lift that gearbox up against the floor to actually pull that out. Worst case scenario, I'll just put an extra tab on the side so it can slide out a lot easier. But so far so good. Pretty happy with that. So yeah, I think we'll get into the floor now and get that fabricated. Now that I've got the engine and gearbox mounted, it means that I can actually go through and start working on getting some exhaust pipes going. Trying to figure out how to actually get them out. I've got a bit of an idea. We are going to come out the front with the actual front exhaust ports on both sides. They will come down around the front of the engine mount and then go back. So we'll make them a multiple piece header setup for this engine. It's not like it's going to be coming off and on all the time, but you know, just with a quick slip joint for that sort of expansion, heat expansion and movement, I think it'll be perfectly fine. So yeah, so look, I want to sort of get on to fabricating that floor for one or two reasons. One, it needs to be done. Two, once I pull this engine and transmission back out, I can actually finish doing the floor with like an underbody deadener and have it all sprayed. So when this goes back in, hopefully it's the, you know, it is the last time it goes in and out. I don't want to be doing it a million times. I'm hopefully not going to be doing it a million times, but yeah, it just makes things a lot easier once all that floor is done. I can get it all done on the inside and the outside, and not have to worry about that portion of it, and just worry about really just getting that engine, you know, the pipes done and getting it sort of running, start bolting stuff to it and in front of it, like radiator, things like that. So, and then we can also start measuring up a tail shaft to go into this. There's, you know, a bit of a theory on how to do them. I'm going to just talk to my driveline guy. Some guys like to know from the end of the spline shaft to a certain point on the diff yoke, whether it be that top face or it's right down deep in where the cup sits. But yeah, I'll have a word to him, see what he wants as a measurement, and try and get that underway too. So once we have a tail shaft in here too, we've got the pipe's going to be sitting next to it. So we need to know where that's actually going to sit. It's all well and good to go, well, it's going to almost be there, but you don't want to have your exhaust pipes and your tail shaft too close together if they, you know, so they don't clash while you're going down the road. So yeah, I think we'll get into that floor right now and try and make something good out of it. All right, so this is a look from the inside as to what we've got to try and cover up. It's probably a good thing that we've only got sort of small sections to do. As in small sections of, you know, we can do one sheet across here because we're dealing with that sort of going back right across, and then a small section on the front. And the reason for that is, I'll show you in a minute, I've got my own little roller. It's only just a little bench roller. But yeah, I want to use what we can. It doesn't have to look absolutely perfect. It's going to be buried under carpet and things like that. So as I said, this is not a show machine, it's a go machine. So we'll try and get something fabricated in a second to, you know, cover up this hole. And I want to put like a flat pedestal around this shifter for a shift boot. So as it comes up, it'll probably have a little lip around the outside, and you know, so it'll go a lot sharper coming up this side. So first we'll get that section in the front done, and then we'll start looking at how we're going to actually fabricate that back. I bought a full sheet of this is zinc coated, I think it's 0.9, could be 1 mil, I'm not sure. It was a while ago when I bought it, but 0.9's generally the sheet thickness that you sort of want for doing any repairs on this car, or any car for that matter. I've already used some for doing the bottom of the doors and like little patch up stuff on the guards that we needed to do. So I'm going to just roughly cut out a section of this larger than what we need and roll it up, and we'll go from there. is what I'm talking about, my little bench roller, and it just bites up in the vise there. Hold it still. Simple little roller, but it's good for doing small sections. You know, that's the front section that we need for that trans tunnel, and as I said, it's good that it's in sort of small pieces, because you know, this is the only roller I've got, and I could go commission someone to roll something up for me, but I want to try and do everything on this car by myself. They're fairly easy to use. There's not much to them. They're double geared, so when you do rotate it, both of these rollers do work, so it pulls the material in. And then on the back side you have adjustments for how much you want that to actually curve, and you can also adjust one side and the other so it curves on an angle, so it's less of a curve this side, more of a curve that side, or vice versa. So it's a handy little unit. It was pretty cheap actually, only about 100, maybe 200 bucks at the most, from a hardware store. So yeah, I quite like it. It's good for doing little small stuff like we're going to do today. So yeah, we'll start rolling something up, see if we can get somewhere close to what we need, and go from there. Okay, you can see there's a shape starting to come out in this bit of tin. Now, I didn't want to overdo it too much in the roller and then have to open it back up. It's actually quite easy to bend it in rather than sort of open it up. So the reason I did that is because we're dealing with sort of an uneven bend. It's sort of, you sort of flatten two surfaces, but it's got like a hard bend right there. So what I'm going to do is end up just stitching it up to that point and then pushing it over, trying to get that hard bend in it, and butt weld it up against the other side there. So I'll go ahead and start stitching that in from the bottom up, and yeah, hopefully we get the right shape out of it. Tack welds in there, you can see that it's, you know, sort of having some sort of shape, but you can also see that if I push it down and across, it brings that up a little bit, and we want that to sort of clear, you know, the shifter and everything down here. So you know, it's not always going to be a true cylinder roll. It's going to have, you know, it's going to be a bit more up here, a little bit down there. It's all over the shop. So I generally find that it's easier to sort of get something started. You can always just cut it out. It's only a couple of tack welds. It's not going to, you know, be a big deal. But yeah, we want to sort of get that roll to come up a bit and spread out a little bit as it goes down. So what I might do is push it over, tack weld it just here so it sort of holds that shape. So if we tack weld it down in here as I hold that shape, I could probably get underneath and draw a line on that, sort of peel that open and just sort of tin snip it a bit to try and get that exactly where we want it to sit, and then finish weld this in. That cut, got a pretty good line there. The original floor is a little bit wonky, but I'll just manipulate it a little bit to try and pick that up properly so it sort of straightens out a bit, but I think that's got the clearance we need. So yeah, I'll go ahead and finish tacking this in, and then we'll start getting onto this bit here. Right, that's tacked in for the time being, so we'll get into this part, but before we do, obviously I'm going to have to get a hammer and dolly in here and straighten this up a little bit. Can't be working with that wonky edge, so yeah, let's start straightening that up. That didn't go to plan. This is just flimsy. What I think's happened is when they've cut this out, there's some sort of form that's supposed to be in there, whether this is supposed to be pushed down a little bit. It's all sort of come up and gone a bit wonky, so it's shrunk or stretched, or when they press this floor in their 50-ton press, they put a lot of strain on all these sections that if you cut, they'll just want to spring back to how they originally were. So we're just going to have to play that as we go, see where we end up with that. So I'll roll another piece in here, somewhere where we need to be, and yeah, we'll just sort of push and pull, and hopefully that comes back to something half decent. All right. We've got that back bit roughly round and sort of just sitting there for the time being, but it's going to need a lot of work to have that shape put in it. It needs to be a lot tighter down here, and yeah, we've got to try and figure out how I'm going to get that. I'll probably have a reverse concave in this to come back out and meet the floor, so but that's going to be a lot of fabrication time. So yeah, I'll get into that, and I think we're going to end off the video here. But when you come back, I'll show you where I got with it, and we'll start finishing off this floor entirely, dynamating it inside, ready for carpet and other things, and yeah, move on to other situations we need to take care of, like those pipes. Eventually we can probably get there. I'm waiting on a few bends still to come in to complete that, so I might be able to get one side sort of mocked up and ready to go, but yeah, I think we'll just we'll be probably digging into that next after we finish this floor. But we've got to finish up this floor. I want this completely finished, so when the motor and box does come back out, we can finish the underside with body deadener and finish painting it, just to get a little bit more progress done. So once it all goes back in, it can stay in, hopefully. So yeah, hope you liked that episode. Stay tuned for the next one, and yeah, we'll be finishing off this floor and obviously getting into more stuff with this Comet.